Bacteria play an important role in causing diseases. It might be through infections or intoxications. In the infection process, bacteria invade the tissues, grow, and reproduce. But in intoxication, bacteria produce certain potent, effective toxins which cause diseases, especially the symptoms of the diseases are it might affect the neural system or it might affect the gastrointestinal system. Even toxins can also cause disease without the presence of the organisms. The term toxin is derived from a Latin word called toxicum, which means that poison. These are substances that are being produced by microorganisms as a metabolic product. Mostly they are being referred as secondary metabolites, which are being pharmacologically active substances, which are being produced during the second round of their life cycle. During the first round of their cycle, probably whatever that they produce are primary metabolites, which have more economic importance, just like acids, enzymes, alcohol, etc. The toxins and antibiotics are the secondary metabolites, which are pharmacologically active substances. And these substances are produced by microorganisms as of metabolism, as a metabolism byproduct, which are deteriorating effects, which have deteriorating effects on the normal metabolism of the host cells. The toxins are broadly classified into two types as exotoxins and endotoxins. Endotoxins are mostly present in most of the gram-negative bacteria, which access the outer membrane of the cell, mainly composed of lipopolysaccharide. It's an integral component of the cell. Exotoxins are mostly present outside the cell, and it is secreted. And these have been related to very specific to host, and they are highly antigenic in nature. They are also called as super antigens. And the toxins, endotoxins mainly cannot be removed from the cell, but exotoxins can be removed from the cell. And usually LPS binds to the bacterium, which is released when the bacteria lyses. And it has got a lipid A molecule. And mostly exotoxins are proteinaceous substances. That's why they are mostly antigenic in nature. In case of the exotoxins have got a lot of specializations that they normally affect the enteric region. Therefore, we call them sometimes as enterotoxins. And some exotoxins mainly affect the neural system. We call them as neurotoxins. So the exotoxins are mostly produced by gram-positive bacteria as well as gram-negative bacteria. And they are very much heat labile because they are proteinaceous substances. And it is secreted by the microorganism during the growth. It's not an integral component of a cell. The exotoxins travel from a site of infection to the other parts of the cell. Specific bacteria are equipped to synthesize by bearing toxin genes. Sometimes it has been encoded by plasmids, covalently closed circular double-stranded extra-chromosomal material, which encodes for this toxin production. The exotoxins are considered to be very, very lethal substances and as toxic in microgram. That's very antigenic when compared to the endotoxins. Even the least dosage can cause infection to a human being. Inactivation of the toxins can be done by treating it with some chemicals, just like iodine, formaldehyde, and other chemical components. And it can be converted into toxoids to immunize the person. Whenever we treat a toxin with 40% formaldehyde, it can be converted to toxoid and can be used for immunization purposes. For example, the tetanus toxoid and the tetanus vaccine, which has been prepared. So there are three types of exotoxins which we can speak about. One is called as AB toxins, which is made up of two portions, A and B portion. And B portion mainly helps in the binding of the toxin to the receptor molecule, and A portion that causes toxicity to the host. And second one is specific host site exotoxin. This a type of AB toxin that affects the specific regions, and it can be called as a neurotoxin. It can affect the central nervous system. And the last one is membrane disrupting toxins. And today in this topic, we are going to study about the AB toxin, which is being produced by Vibrio cholerae. It's also called as cholera gel, the agent which causes acute diarrheal disorder. AB toxin is produced. It has got two subunits, A and B. And B subunit is a pentamer, whereas A subunit is a dimer. And it is made up of two components. And the B subunit mainly helps in binding to the ganglioside receptors. It binds to specific receptors which are present on the intestinal cells, which we call them as intestinal ganglioside receptors, called as GM1 protein. And for tetanus, it is called as GT1 protein, and for botulinum, it is called as SV2 protein. The mechanism is very simple, that B subunit is embedded on the plasma membrane, forms a pore, and paves way to the entry of the A subunit into the cell. And the another one is toxin, which enters into the receptor-mediated endocytosis. It enters into the cell, and it can activate the adenylate cyclase pathway, thereby helps in the increased production of cyclic AMP inside the intestinal cell, leads to the dehydration, the removal of the electrolytes inside, maybe bicarbonates, chlorine, sodium, potassium. All these are being removed at a stage. When the electrolytes try to move outside the cell, it causes a type of osmotic imbalance. And the solvent, the water that is present inside the cell, tries to move from the region of lower concentration to the higher concentration, and thereby leading to a diarrheal disorder, and which causes the acute diarrheal disorder in the case of cholera. And cholera is it's caused by an organism called as Vibrio cholerae, and Vibrio cholerae is a slightly curved comma-shaped organism which has got a polar flagella. And this organism, normally, it's been causing the cholera disease only through vehicles, especially through contaminated food and water. And very importantly, this organism is an alkalophilic organism. This organism grows at a pH of maximum 8.6 to 9.2. And it can even grow in saltwater medium. It can grow in more alkaline medium. And we use alkaline peptone water to enrich the presence of this organism in any of the sample. And this diarrheal dysentery is actually this diarrheal disorder can be visually identified by the feces. It's called as rice water stool. It looks like a pale white in color because of complete dehydration, loss of electrolytes. There is no medicines which can be given to treat this particular disorder, except perhaps we have to replace them with electrolytes, balance the electrolytes by giving oral dehydrating solutions. So the replacement of electrolytes, protecting from the dehydration and leading to health and sanitation. Cholera toxin is a classical example of an enterotoxin. As I told, it has got two different units. The A subunit mainly activates, it ribosylates ADP, which increases the CAMP level, cyclic AMP level concentrations. And this CAMP level increase helps in the movement of water, the electrolytes from the intestinal cells from the gut, and causes osmotic imbalance. The water is released from the tongue. Cytotoxins act as specific cells on the tissues and organs. Some cytotoxins are hepatotoxin, cardiotoxin, which can affect liver and heart, especially. And these exotoxins are very important super antigens because they can trigger the host T cells. A large number of cytokines can be produced, which are soluble intermediates produced by the activation of T lymphocytes during cell-mediated immunity. These cytokines are normally effective only during a viral infection or during other bacterial infection. But cytokines, circulatory shock, multi-organ failure, endothelial damage, all these things might happen whenever these antigens are given in higher quantity. So when we speak about the characteristics between exotoxin and endotoxin, exotoxins are purely made up of proteins, and endotoxins are purely made up of lipids. And exotoxins can be taken out from the cell, whereas endotoxin is an integral part of the cell. And endotoxins are poorly antigenic, and exotoxins are highly antigenic. Exotoxins are heat labile, whereas endotoxins are little stable. And exotoxins can be converted by using chemical or by enzyme treatment, whereas endotoxins cannot be done like that, because exotoxins can be converted into toxoid by treating with formaldehyde or formalin. So that the toxicity plays a vital role. These exotoxins are highly toxic when compared to the endotoxin.